2 minutes. That's how quickly you can heat and enjoy ready-to-eat, chef-prepared meals with Factor, the sponsor of this video. If you place a takeout order and pick it up yourself, you're compromising on time. If you get delivery, you're compromising on price. There are no compromises with Factor. Factor means flexibility. You can change what meals you want every week with over 35 rotating options to choose from. You can change the size of your order from as low as 6 to as many as 18, and you can pause or reschedule your deliveries anytime. Factor also offers add-ons for those in-between meal times, like smoothies, juices, and small bites. I'm enjoying the cold brew latte shake with 18 grams of protein. So head to Factor75.com or click the link below and use code FOOLISH50 to get 50% off your first Factor box and 20% off your next month of orders. That's code FOOLISH50 at Factor75.com to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month of orders. The first baseball YouTuber was Thomas Edison. In his home state of New Jersey, he briefly filmed the best base running the year 1898 could offer. In the 120-some-odd years since, the way we consume baseball has evolved. Baseball was first broadcast on the radio in 1921 and first televised in 1939, though the World Series wouldn't make it to TV screens until 1947. The oldest surviving full baseball broadcast is from 1952, and the oldest surviving broadcast in color is from 1967. Of course, baseball was referred to as America's national pastime well before the television was invented. Over the last few decades, TV technology has improved to include HD cameras, slow-mo replays, and computer-generated graphics. But the biggest change to baseball broadcasts in my, and probably your lifetimes, has been to the aspect ratio. When I was a kid, the TV was a square. Now it's a rectangle. Baseball broadcasts, like all other televised content, have transitioned from 4:3 standard definition to 16:9 high definition, and it's been mostly downhill for baseball viewership since. Because while that move to a widescreen format significantly improved almost everything you can watch on a TV screen, it didn't fundamentally alter the experience of watching a baseball game. And that's not the broadcaster's fault, that's baseball's fault. HDTV has been around longer than you think. It just wasn't always practical for American markets. You're currently looking at high-definition footage of New York City from 1993, which was shot for the ahead-of-the-curve Japanese markets. Seeing everyday life in HD from over 30 years ago feels so anachronistic. It's like seeing a photo of Mark Twain in color. The first HDTVs available for American consumers went on sale in 1998.
Sports, all kinds of settings in almost 3 dimensions. It's like looking through a crystal clear window.
Unfortunately, they cost up to $5,500, over 10 grand in 2024 money, and most channels didn't broadcast in high definition yet. Instead, the standard changed gradually throughout the 2000s as HDTVs became more affordable. Chances are you entered that decade looking at a 4:3 TV screen and exited it looking at a 16:9 screen, the same aspect ratio as this YouTube video. In the baseball world, that meant opening day 2000 looked like this: square, fuzzy, lo-fi Jason Giambi homers you can relax/study to. But opening day 2010 looked like this. Pretty much how it looks today, just with Johan Santana and Dan Ugla. This transition to 16:9 was great for movies. Consumers finally had a widescreen at home to view films originally shot and projected in wider aspect ratios. As you'll learn in a minute, it was also great for every other popular team sport in America, just not necessarily for baseball. Keep in mind, the fear that baseball is dying is about as old as the sport itself. Albert Spalding lamented baseball's decline way back in 1881, so by that logic, it's been dying for over 140 years. But it is clear that Major League Baseball is no longer a culturally dominant force in America. It doesn't seep into the mainstream. Sure, baseball fans still love it, but non-baseball fans rarely have to encounter it. You might not be a fan of these people, but you're forced to know who they are simply by existing. It used to be that way for ball players too, just not anymore. There are many reasons for this. I'm just pointing out one that has never been pointed out before: the transition from 4:3 to 16:9. Using the mid-2000s as a cutoff, in the 4x3 days, the World Series averaged just over 30 million TV viewers. In the 16x9 present, less than half of that. That's not to say baseball broadcasts should have never switched to the current standard. Of course they should have. It looks better. But it wasn't revolutionary for baseball the way it was for other sports. Here's why. The move to 16x9 meant an increase in screen real estate. When watching sports, that means more information. You can see more of the field and thus have a better idea of what's happening on that field. So while the 1999 MLB All-Star Game and Super Bowl 33 from that same year were on even footing in the 4x3 days, the NFL made a bigger leap, comparatively speaking, in the widescreen 2000s. In Super Bowl 33, we see John Elway about to pass, but to who? And is he open? Turns out it's his running back, Terrell Davis, 3 yards past the line of scrimmage. In Super Bowl 35, now in widescreen, Kerry Collins dumps off a pass of his own, but this time you can actually see the play developing. You wouldn't have seen the running back's route in 4x3, but now you can in 16x9, though these are just dump-offs. Football's greatest weakness as a televised sport is also a strength. When the quarterback lets it rip downfield, the viewer at home has no clue what they're seeing. When the camera eventually pans to reveal Jerry Rice with a step on the defender, you can say, "Oh, good decision, Steve Young," but you didn't know that when he released the ball. The switch to 16x9 at least gave us a better idea what linebackers, running backs, and tight ends are actually doing, but we're clueless about downfield battles between receivers and defensive backs, so much so that the NFL will happily sell you a package of all 22 film. This is the most powerful entertainment product in human history, but when you watch it on TV, you can't see what half the people on the field are actually doing in real time. Still, widescreen equates to more real estate and more information. With baseball as the lone exception, the major team sports of North America are played on surfaces with aspect ratios that are downright cinematic. Remembering that this video is in 16x9, an NFL field with end zones included has a 20x9 aspect ratio, an NBA court is a 17x9, and an NHL arena is 21x9. Even if you're not showing the entire playing surface all at once, they just fit better on a wide screen. But of course, the playing surface in baseball is called a diamond for a reason. It fits the squared off 4x3 aspect ratio just fine, which makes it a massive outlier. Football, basketball, hockey, soccer, they all play out horizontally on your TV screen. Scoring occurs on the ends of those screens, and the players face those ends, meaning we get a side view of the action. During play, the camera isn't typically behind the quarterback or the point guard, but you know who it is behind? The pitcher. The shot from center field is the default camera angle for baseball, and for good reason, to see exactly where the pitch ends up. If a broadcast cuts away from that default center field camera, it'll typically be because the batter hits the ball in fair territory or a runner is trying to steal a base. But that doesn't happen on 80% of pitches. When you watch baseball, you live here. This is the default broadcast angle for baseball, the same way this is for football, basketball, hockey, and soccer. So if every other team sport gained horizontal real estate and thus gained information, what did baseball gain in the widescreen wars? Well, this is the last pitch of the 2023 season in 4x3. Here it is in 16x9. I ask you again, what did baseball gain? Nothing. Just a few extra faces behind home plate. And no offense to those faces, but they do not enhance the viewer's understanding of the game the way seeing more of the field helps baseball's competitors. Because in those sports, the action moves horizontally on screen. It doesn't in baseball. How do you score in almost every major team sport? Well, the ball moves to the end of the rectangle, of course. How do you score in baseball? The player runs a lap in a square. They run a square-shaped lap. Rarely does the action on screen move horizontally in baseball. The most obvious cases are throws from the left side of the infield to first base, or the classic right field to third base. Sure, widescreen helps me better appreciate a strong-armed shortstop in real time, but most televised baseball is just this. the center field camera. If baseball on TV has been overtaken as a product, this isn't the only reason why, but it's one of them. A strikeout, a web gem, a base hit. They all play out the same in 16:9 as they would if 4:3 were still the standard. We've talked aspect ratio, now it's time to talk resolution. Assuming that 4:3 standard definition is 640 by 480 and 16:9 high definition is 1280 by 720, the jump to widescreen HD also came with a tripled pixel count for triple the clarity. Did this increase in detail enhance sports broadcasts? You bet. For most of hockey's televised existence, you couldn't see the puck. You couldn't see the object the whole game revolves around. Some broadcasts even had to devise a glowing puck on screen. Think about iconic baseball moments from the 80s. Fernando Mania, the hobbled Kirk Gibson walk-off, the ball rolling through poor Bill Buckner's legs. When you watch the footage back, we take for granted how easy it was for TV audiences to see exactly what happened. This is the most iconic moment in hockey history, 1980's Miracle on Ice. I don't know what's happening. I can't see the puck. 1999 NHL All-Star Game. Still can't see the puck. 2012 All-Star Game. Hey, there's the puck. It wasn't so much the aspect ratio change, rather the resolution change that suddenly made hockey a lot more watchable. The NBA court's 17:9 aspect ratio almost perfectly fits our 16:9 screens, though admittedly much of the game is played in the half court, so 4:3 was fine for capturing that action. But the visual clarity of today's broadcasts has heightened the drama of a personality-driven league, where individual players affect wins and losses more than they can in baseball. These basketball stars are indoors, playing under consistent lighting, and they are exposed. No helmets, no hats, no pads, no dugouts, and as a result, their on-court emotions are brought to life by HD resolutions. The joy, the sadness, the anger, it fuels the soap opera. Baseball doesn't gain as much from that resolution bump. Yes, it rocks to see a pitcher get fired up after a big strikeout. Yes, we all enjoy the slow-mode spin of a slider. But we could already see the wicked movement of a Greg Maddux sinker in the days of standard definition. Same with the carry on a Nolan Ryan four-seamer. The baseball itself is a small object, much smaller than a football or basketball, so you'd think it'd have the hockey puck problem, but it rarely did. There are some specific cases where the increased resolution helped viewers track the baseball. Nowadays, you have a better chance of seeing a home run ball in the air during a day game. You couldn't really see the trajectory of this monster Barry Bonds shot in standard definition, just the sea of hands in Yankee Stadium's upper deck indicating where it landed. Night games were never a problem, though. A white object on a dark sky can be spotted whether it's in HD or not. We can see number 756 in the air just fine. So, while the switch to widescreen and increase in resolution somewhat improved baseball broadcasts, it helped the other sports a lot more, and baseball has continued to fall out of favor since that switch was made, simply because of how it's played on the field. But, for the same reasons it struggles on TV, baseball has the DNA to dominate your smartphone? The majority of you are watching this on a device with iOS or Android. Chances are it's your phone, and chances are your phone is a rectangle. But my videos aren't necessarily designed for phones, they're designed for computer monitors and TVs. Thankfully, there's an easy solution. Flip your phone 90 degrees to enjoy a landscape view. But young folks don't always like that. These are the days of YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, and TikTok. Original content in a vertical portrait format. It makes perfect sense. It's the natural aspect ratio for holding your phone. Why can't it be the aspect ratio for viewing content as well? Every entity that creates widescreen media, whether it be a billion-dollar corporation or your favorite YouTuber, has scrambled to translate their landscape content into vertical. But there's a serious challenge. Simply cropping 16:9 to 9:16 cuts out 2/3 of the real estate, 2/3 of the information. That means a Lamar Jackson highlight run looks like this. No context for what the defense is doing, just him existing in space and juking tacklers right as we become aware of their existence. It looks cool, but it's not informative. We're not capturing his anticipation, only his athleticism. Let's think of the vertical rectangle as 2 steps backwards from the horizontal 16:9 on your TV, meaning the midway point between the two is the squared off 4:3 from baseball's better days. Do you see where this is going? Because of how the action moves on screen, baseball translates beautifully to vertical video across its rich history. Bill Mazeroski's walk-off to end the 1960 World Series, Edgar Renteria's single to end the 1997 World Series. 2/3 of the screen is straight up missing for David Freese's triple from 2011, and it's fine. Everything can be comprehended. What made baseball a cultural force before there were TVs in every household was that it doesn't need as much visual stimulus to be enjoyed as other sports. Fans loved the newspaper box score. They loved the radio. You want to get rid of 2/3 of the TV screen? No problem. It translates because the ball and players move in a predictable, easy-to-describe manner, and the action is rarely horizontal. Yes, baseball lost the widescreen war. It fell behind when media consumption looked like this. But if the future is this, baseball won't just survive, it'll thrive. Thanks for watching, and thank you to William Cage for the music.